Hello, I am Ronan from Recording Bootcamp, and I'm coming to you today from beautiful Prostocemi recording in the Villa Prostocemi in North Italy, where I do quite a lot of my projects. But we're working on this record for Italian artist Mike Third, and we've got strings on the record, and I wanted to share with you kind of what we're doing and how this can actually be something that you can easily use in your own productions. So we put strings on this record, and it's amazing how much real strings can, add depth and space and character to a production, and in fact make it sound more expensive. But a lot of people think, well, of course it sounds more expensive. It's really expensive to do real strings. Well, reality, it doesn't have to be. It certainly can be, going to Abbey Road and London Symphony Orchestra. But it's amazing how much just a quartet of not super expensive players can really step your production up to the next level. Because of course it's great to have a big LA Union orchestra or something at Abbey Road, but most of the time if you live near a good music school, just getting some of the students there to put together simple parts, it's amazing how much that can step up your productions to the next level. And really what you want to do if you're going to source out, at the local music school or something, is find somebody who's a good arranger and work with them to find what kind of parts would work for the tunes, get them involved, and you can probably have them help you find the best players because they'll know the skill sets of the different players, and you can put together a simple quartet. It's amazing, again, how much it can take your pretty good thing to sounding like it was a big budget production. Especially if you want to do the trick that we do a lot, is where we'll have a simple quartet or even a trio play, and then we'll move the microphones and just have them play the same parts over again, maybe in different positions, and just layer those one time or two times, and all of a sudden people start wondering how you afforded this big orchestra on your productions. But when I'm approaching strings, and I kind of do the same thing with large ensembles versus a simple string quartet, especially if I'm going to be working on a pop or a rock or funk or punk record even, how I like to approach it is using a coincident pair of microphones. Coincident pair is a fancy way to say the sound reaches both of those microphones at the same time. I also actually, on pop records and rock records, sometimes we'll just use a single mono mic. But if we're doing a stereo thing, I like those coincident things. And most commonly, that's the XY. Again, two cardioids, 90-degree angle right there, with the quartet out this way, or whatever size we've got. Another one is also the Bloomline pair, which looks just like that, but it's two figure-of-8 microphones. Again, 90-degree angles right on top of each other, so sound of any instrument or any room reflection is arriving at both mics at the same time. And this is a really good sound. It's really kind of natural sound. The downside to it is it's not overly dramatic, so you don't get this, wow, it's so wide and huge effect. But why I opt for the coincident usually an XY pair for this, is because mono compatibility. And I'm not just talking about the final mix sounding more mono compatible. I'm talking about creative options at mix time. Because truth is, you might record something in stereo, it sounds lovely, but then you do your rock, pop, funk, punk, electro production, and all of a sudden you bring in the guitars, you bring in the synth, the Fender Rhodes, the big background vocals, and there's not room to put that big stereo strings in there. So maybe you want to start bringing them in to be a little bit more mono, or maybe make them completely mono and panning them off to this side or off to this side. Really, really common things to do in a mix in a dense production. So spaced pairs, where we, instead of recording like this, we used a spaced pair of microphones out like 1 meter or 10 meters or something that sounded really dramatic. When we start to bring those in, we are 100% guaranteed to have mono compatibility problems. We're 100% guaranteed to have phase problems. So all of a sudden our big, lush, beautiful strings, we start to bring them in, all of a sudden they're going quack, quack, quack. They start to sound nasally or dull or honky or boxy or hollow or all those other sounds that come from bad phase problems. Again, we are 100% guaranteed to have these problems, and there's nothing we can really do to fix it. Again, there's some tricks we could do, time aligning, phase shifters, They don't fix things, they're just going to screw it up in a different way that maybe or maybe not we like better. So all of a sudden, our cool stereo sound, when we have to mono it up to put it in one place in our mix, or even just less stereo, we end up getting phase problems. 100% guaranteed we're going to start to get phase problems. But these XY or bloom line, these coincident type things, and also if you know MS miking, that would fit into this category as well. Every sound in any place in the room is reaching the mics at the same time. So these XY or bloom line or MS, they all have fantastic mono compatibility. Not perfect, but really, really good. So when we take that, bring it in mono, anywhere in there, move it off to the left, move it off to the right, we're going to end up with a really mono-compatible sound. So if it sounds good wide in stereo, it's still going to sound good in mono. So that is why we love it. It's not necessarily about the final mix, even though that comes into it. It's about letting us be creative as mixers, put those strings exactly where we want them. And a lot of people think, oh, strings have to be big in stereo. Not the case, especially if you've got big rock guitars or a big synth loop or something like that off to one side or straight up the middle. Sometimes the way to give those strings space and life is to actually mono them up, or even just mono mic, and put that off to the side. Maybe have strings over there, an interesting synth pad or Fender Rhodes over there to make a big, exciting mix. So everything can live together and is going to kick ass when you hear it in stereo, and also sound awesome if it gets played back in mono or any other situation. This is what we're working on right now. I can actually solo it up and let you hear what's going on. Mono. Probably sounds crazy with the mono mic on the front of the camera, but that's what we're working on. And what I talked about here, we talked about strings, but that could also talk about if you had a barbershop quartet or any other kind of ensemble that was going to be recorded as a group, that you wanted a lot of control on where to stick that in your final mix. So I hope that was helpful. If you want to make sure that you get all of the updates we put here on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tell your friends to do the same, of course. But for more in-depth, exclusive content, and also access to a lot of different things we're doing, both in in-person training and new educational videos, go here, check out the Recording Bootcamp website at recordingbootcamp.com. And if you go and click this link right here, join that way, we will get you a free ebook and also access to all of that special content. So that is it. Have fun and stay focused on the music, because that's the most important part of all this recording business. All right, see you later. I got to get back to mixing.